So, what if I told you that the entire playbook for modern data-driven marketing, A/B testing, conversion tracking, ROI, the whole shebang, was actually written 100 years ago? We're about to dive into Claude Hopkins' 1923 classic, Scientific Advertising, a book that literally laid the foundation for turning marketing from a wild gamble into a predictable science. And this right here, this was Hopkins' big, radical idea. You have to remember, at the time, advertising was all just clever slogans and gut feelings. He came along and said, no, it can be as predictable and as reliable as any other part of the business. He literally wanted to find its unbreakable laws, just like the law of gravity. This slide just nails how Hopkins saw the advertising world back then. He had this great analogy. He said advertisers were like sailors adrift without a map or a compass, just getting pushed around by, in his words, vagrant, changing breezes, leading to all these shipwrecks that nobody ever even bothered to record. So his whole point was, the science of it, that's about creating the map. It's about charting the course and finding the safest, most direct route to your destination. Okay, so how do you actually build that map? How do you take what's basically an art form, a total gamble, and turn it into a real science with fixed rules? Well, the answer turned out to be surprisingly simple, but man, it changed absolutely everything. Hopkins and his team were pioneers in using things like keyed advertisements and coupons. For the very first time, they could actually trace which ads, which headlines, and which sales pitches were the ones generating real replies and actual sales. All of a sudden, every single ad became an experiment, and every response became a crucial data point. So with all this new data pouring in, Hopkins was finally able to establish a core rule, a fundamental truth about what an advertisement really is and what its job is supposed to be. This was his big breakthrough. An ad isn't entertainment. It's not art just for the sake of being art. It is, very simply, a salesperson. The only difference is, instead of talking to one person at a time, it can talk to thousands or even millions. But its purpose? That stays exactly the same: to sell stuff. And that leads us to this, the ultimate test for every single ad you create. Just ask this one question: would this help a real, live salesperson sell the product? Hopkins was convinced that if you asked this about every little piece of your ad, the headline, the image, every word, you'd avoid a ton of costly mistakes. Is it funny? Is it cool? Who cares? Does it sell? So you end up with these two totally different mindsets. On the one hand, you've got the salesman in print. This person is completely focused on the customer, on being sincere and convincing. And on the other side, you've got the performer. This is the ad writer who forgets their job is to sell and instead tries to be an entertainer, looking for applause instead of sales. Hopkins was pretty ruthless about which one of these actually works. Okay, so if an ad is a salesman, and we know we can track the results, what's the actual process? Well, this gets us to the absolute engine room of scientific advertising, the relentless, non-stop method of testing. And this is the process in a nutshell. It's really just the classic scientific method, but applied to selling things. You don't just guess which headline is best. No way! You come up with a few different versions. Those are your hypotheses. Then you test them on a small scale, you measure the results with total precision, and then you adopt the winner as a proven, fixed principle that you can build on. And let's look at a real-world example, because this makes it so clear. Two headlines, same beer ad. Headline A says, pure beer. Kind of vague, right? It costs $10 for every reply they got. But then look at headline B, cooled in filtered air. That's specific, makes you curious, and the result? It only costs $2 per reply. That is a 500% improvement. This is the power of testing. It takes all the opinions out of the room and just leaves you with cold, hard facts. Now, all this testing also revealed some things that felt a little, well, counterintuitive at the time. Like this motto from the old mail-order catalogs, the more you tell, the more you sell. The data showed again and again that brief, clever ads almost always failed. And why is that? Because once you finally get an interested person's attention, you have to give them all the information they need to make a decision. So don't be afraid of long copy as long as it's full of valuable info. All this testing, it wasn't just about finding the best headline for a beer ad. It was about something much bigger. It was about discovering the universal principles of human psychology. It revealed what actually makes people tick, and more importantly, what makes them buy. And one of the biggest discoveries was the power of being specific. General claims like our prices are low, nobody even notices those, it's just puffery. But a specific claim like our net profit is 3%, now that's different. It's either true or it's a lie,
And because it sounds so factual, people tend to believe it. It's credible, it's memorable, and it's way more persuasive.
And being specific was just one of many principles he figured out. Things like offering a service, not just a product, using headlines to filter for your ideal audience, offering a free sample to lower the risk for the buyer. Look, these aren't just quaint ideas from the 1920s. This is the bedrock. These are the principles that great marketing still uses to this very day.
So, when you put it all together, what's the lasting impact of this book that's now a century old? I mean, why does it still matter so much? It really all comes down to this. Hopkins' legacy was about dragging advertising into the world of accountability. He was the one who argued that marketing shouldn't get a free pass. It has to be measured, it has to be optimized, and it has to be held to the exact same standard of efficiency and return on investment as any other part of the business.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. The tools have changed completely, obviously, but the core principles are identical. His keyed coupons are our UTM parameters. His test campaigns in different towns are our A/B tests. His traced returns, that's our analytics dashboard. He was doing in 1923 what every good digital marketer is trying to do right now, today.
Which leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question. In our age of AI and algorithms and endless data, are we actually more scientific than Hopkins was 100 years ago? Or, with all that noise, are we sometimes just that modern-day sailor he warned about, lost in a massive sea of data, but still without a chart?